The city of Lagos once
still one level of
Be the first to know. From the north, south, east, west, and around Africa, we break the news.
One Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are Core TV News.
Welcome to Core TV,
24-hour news station.
Workers in Adamawa State are forced to stay at home after a 2-day holiday was declared. The holiday also effectively delayed the inauguration of a 7-man committee which was set up to investigate the governor and his deputy at the Yola High Court, which was deserted. The development has garnered a nationwide response, not at least its political interests. The People Democratic Party in Adamawa State says the governor is leading the state in a wrong direction.
Nyako was trying to see to it that some processes initiated in the House of Assembly to investigate his misdeeds. You see, he tried to forestall that one, thinking that by this mayor asking the people to go on holidays will actually help him. It's an exercise in futility.
The spokesperson to Adamawa State government, Ahmed Sajo, says the holiday is an opportunity for a citizen to pray.
We have not faced such triple challenges before. Challenges of security, challenges of state of emergency, and then challenges of political crisis. We've not faced triple challenges at once at a go. And I think these are very serious issues that we need to reflect on.
A legal practitioner, however, says the governor may have miscalculated.
The committee, the constitution of the committee, the 7-man panel, as far as the law is concerned, the constitution of the panel is valid. Now, the inauguration of the committee, people are making a lot of issues out of this. Honestly, let me tell you, legally, whether the committee is inaugurated or not inaugurated, inauguration is just a ceremony. From the day the committee is constituted and all the members accept to be part of the committee.
Meanwhile, the June salaries of the state civil servants are yet to be paid.
Well, it is at the court, and the court said it was not well done. We are hoping that if they want to do it, they'll do it following the normal process or whatever they want to do.
Did you approach the president to intervene?
Not yet. It has not reached the crisis point.
And you believe you will have fair hearing?
I should have. We have supported him all this time, and he has supported us. In a situation like this, when Mr. President's support is required, we will seek it, but even hoping that he will give it to us without asking for it.
In October last year, members of the Adamawa State House of Assembly passed a vote of confidence on Governor Murtala Nyako and his deputy, Bala James Ingilari. 8 months later, the legislators are calling for the heads of the executive officers. Residents have questioned the double standard exhibited by the legislators.
I don't dabble into all those things because it makes no point. He may have settled them at that time. But for whatever reason this time, thank God, they refused or they could not be settled.
One of the PDP elders in support of the impeachment, Andra Usawa, says their decision was not wrong.
Mistakes had been made, and the only way we can correct it is to support the House of Assembly in regards to what they have already done so that they can finally complete that action.
It shows that democracy is working. For too long, the state houses of assembly had been in the pockets of governors. And that's why this country has been run the way it has gone, with abysmal corruption at the highest level of governance in the states. No, with impunity. This shows that the days of impunity is over. At least Adamawa is kickstarting something good. and I hope that other states will emulate what Adamawa is doing, that the days of impunity is over. If you have had the privilege of visiting other states, even your neighboring state of Gombe, which is a new state, or Jos, you will come back crying.
Allegations against the governor and his deputy are believed to have begun work. Meanwhile, members of the Adamawa State House of Assembly went on a month-long recess just when the heat is on. Residents say they wonder if that will enhance or impede the impeachment process.
The absence of the legislators has no effect, as I understand, on the impeachment process itself, because at the moment the ball is in the court of the panel, the seven-member panel that has been constituted by the Chief Judge. But the legislature is always the bastion of democracy. It is the symbol of democracy. It is in the legislature that issues that affect the ordinary man and the ordinary person in the society are discussed and addressed. So I agree that the legislature should have been here to look at issues that affect the welfare of the masses, payment of salaries, provision of infrastructural facilities, water supply, health, and so on and so forth. For instance, at the moment, doctors are on strike, and it aggravates the already bad health situation in the country. So perhaps the legislature should be around to find ways of addressing some of these problems.
The general consensus among residents has been in support of the legislators.
To pass a vote of confidence on him was to give him the confidence that yes, he will be welcome. When that didn't work and it was going from bad to worse, the next thing is to impeach him.
Governor Nyako had survived an impeachment during his first tenure. The federal government had to wade into the face-off between him and the lawmakers. The second impeachment attempt may yet follow the same course, as two past heads of state and some traditional rulers are said to be on a move to save the embattled governor.
The videos already tell you the story of what our thrust will be at the show this morning. We're going all the way to Adamawa State, one of the three northeastern states under the state of emergency. Of course, not much has been talked about the fight against insurgency in that state. As it is, the fight to hold on to power. Of course, you've heard about all the impeachment saga ongoing in Adamawa. 19 out of the 25 members of the State House of Assembly already signed to that effect. And of course, when they met some limitation from the courts of law, they had to go through a 7-man panel that is already sitting and asking the governor alongside his deputy to come and answer questions as regards some alleged what they call gross misconduct and misappropriation of funds. But there are some things you might not know about the governor. He has been a man of many firsts in his life. He was the very first naval officer, the youngest naval officer to captain a ship at the age of 24 in Nigeria, as well as being the first politician since 1999 to get the governorship ticket without a primary election and lasted 2 terms in office. Some have also called him the very first governor to run Adamawa State without a substantive Chief Judge for over 3 years. Of course, just yesterday, the tenure of the acting Chief Judge elapsed in Adamawa. It's always been one Chief Judge there, being there being there just for a while, tentatively, and then it changes over and over. It's also the first governor that shut down the State House of Assembly for close to 3 months, as well as being, some call him the first governor not to have paid workers for 2 months because they participated in a national strike. The big question on the show today is, will Nyako also be the very first governor to be impeached based strictly on allegations of gross misconduct since the return of democracy in Nigeria from 1999. I'm joined now by a political affairs analyst as well as a commentator, Victor Okhai. Good morning, Victor.
Good morning.
And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
The governor looks very calm in that interview, unlike what is expected of someone who is in the eye of the storm. What do you make up of that?
He's a general, a military general. And by virtue of his training, if he loses his calm, a general who loses his calm would obviously throw his troop into confusion and disarray. So he comes with a background that prepares him to remain calm in the face of storm. What you might see is a facade. Deep down, it might be raging storm within, you know, but he has to maintain that calm exterior, even if to confuse, you know, his opponents or those that are antagonizing him. Yeah. So it's in his character, it's in his background, it's in his training, it's in his DNA, you know.
He survived it once in 2008, but that was when he was still with the People's Democratic Party. What do you think are his chances, just like our topic says, who was saving Nyako this time?
Well, I like the question, who will save him this time? You know, I mean, in politics, there's a lot of horse trading, obviously. I mean, a lot of compromises, give and take. We cannot rule it out. When he, you know, defected to the to APC, he took an action which obviously was his own decision. Of course, a few went with him, and but obviously not everyone is with him. And Adamawa has always been, if you like, a stronghold of the ruling People's Democratic Party. And he has said it that the presidency, and I mean, he have supported the president in the past, and he expects the president, and the president to, it's like, rub my back, I rub your back. This has been the trend in the past. This time around, unfortunately, the forces that are against him are quite formidable, starting with the EFCC. I mean, the allegations are, I mean, I've read them, and I'm sure you've read them as well. They're weighty. You know, they're not things you can just sweep away. I mean, if this had not come out, we would say, okay, look, it's okay to cover it. But now the dog has been given teeth to bite, you know, and it is going to take a lot for them to withdraw. And don't forget, you see, there's a saying, you don't fight with government, and that includes any type of government. In this case, unfortunately, his fight, when he wrote the letter, single-handedly, I think, on his own, of his own volition, to the northern elders and all that, he was insinuating genocide. I mean, that is a very weighty statement, because by virtue of that statement, what he was implying was, Mr. President, although you have immunity, as soon as you step down from here, you have to go to The Hague and pay for your sins. And now the thing is, are these things he can substantiate? And nobody's going to take this lying low, you know. So he was sort of toying with the hornet's nest, you know, when he did that. So going back to the question, who will save him? Well, in the past, he's been known to quarrel with all those who are his benefactors, from his godfather, Jibril Aminu, to Bamanga Tukur, to Atiku, who he's been off and on with, you know, and Buba Marwa, you know. So I mean, when you fight everyone around you, then the big question is again, who will save you, you know? So what has happened right now is that even if we say he has a problem with PDP, his former party, there are elders who can intervene. 2 past heads of state, we are told, have gone to beg on his behalf. And we're also told that the president said, well, let him withdraw the
letter written. And of course
apologize. And he's unwilling. He's unwilling to do that. You know, for whatever reason, I don't know. Maybe again the general in him is making him stand bold-faced.
Would you say it's a matter of ego, or the matter of how true the content of the letter might be?
Well, the contents of the letter are yet to be substantiated. Remember that he didn't get support. He was rebuked when the National Executive, I mean, is it not National?
The Northern Governors Forum.
Not just Northern Governors Forum, even when what's the body now where governors and pastors, but generally he was rebuked. No one supported him. which means on that particular case, he was Oyo, excuse my play on the word, on his own, you know, sort of. You know, so it was clearly an also unsubstantiated allegation. It was an allegation that very few, if any at all, agreed with. And it was also an allegation that nobody wanted to identify with. So obviously, the only thing left is his ego. Because every other person cannot be wrong. They cannot be rebuking him if they agreed with him. You understand? I don't even think his party really stood by him strictly on account of that on account of that statement. So, if anything, I can base my judgment on his ego. Otherwise, there's absolutely no reason why I cannot say, okay, you know, it's just his ego. How can I come and say I'm sorry? Why should I say I'm sorry? You know. So obviously, I think that's what the problem is.
The All Progressives Congress already, you know, pointed up, accusing the fingers to the PDP, saying that they are responsible for what's happening, not only in Adamawa. Of course, we hear about the State House of Assembly crisis in Edo and River State, and these states are states presently under the APC. If you also look through the 20 allegations against him, you notice that some of them are the same allegations that were, you know, brought against him in 2007 and 2008. You begin to wonder how genuine the State House of Assembly is. Just October last year, they passed the vote of confidence for purposeful leadership on him, and then 8 months after is a different start.
Well, the good thing about, because these allegations border on crime, they're not civil matters. The good thing about crime and criminal law is whenever the law catches up with you, it catches up with you. The fact that I committed a murder in 1930 does not mean it cannot be revisited in if evidences come up or if anyone decides to pursue it in the year 2014. Okay, so if indeed, as you have said, the party in the state is APC, and in Edo it is APC, and Rivers also maybe to a large extent APC, then I wonder what APC is complaining about. If your party is a party ruling the state, then how can you accuse another party of being responsible for the woes of your governorship candidate or the crisis in the state? It obviously means things are not together or things are not exactly what they seem.
Is it not also possible that the opposition is using the instrumentality of the House against the executive?
No. But if you're talking about using the instrumentality of the House, I mean, this is politics. Even where you are in a minority, I mean, we've seen cases where we've had governors who are in a different party. And, I mean, it happened. Otedola, for instance, you recall, you know, ruled the state successfully without being impeached with NRC and a largely SDP, what do you call it now, assembly. You know, so it's about politics. You look at your strengths and your weaknesses and you act accordingly. You know, if you know that you cannot survive heat, don't go near fire. Okay? And so, in Edo State, for instance, I mean, it's not a case of APC is predominant in that state. So, I don't see where the minority will, if that's what the allegation truly is, will be able to, you know, crush the majority, unless the majority is not an intact majority or a united majority.
But what exactly should be the relationship between the legislative or the legislature as it is and the executive? Because you had one of the
beautiful question. I want to say this beautiful question. I'm glad you asked this question. It's just the kind of what you call it now, party politics, or if you like, democracy will run in this country. The legislature, the thinking behind, you know, the kind of democracy we run is that the legislature is supposed to be for checks and balances against the executive, to check executive lawlessness, you know. So otherwise the executive would simply just act with impunity. But what the legislature is supposed to do, apart from making laws, is to make sure that if the executive is stepping out of line, they're checked, you know. But unfortunately, what you have had in the past, just like somebody there said this, you find governors who put the legislators or the executive rather, who put the legislatures into their pockets, you know, probably because also they control the apron strings and all that, of the purse strings rather, you know, and all that. And a lot of them also probably influence the election of this candidate sponsor and all that. So they tend to bully. That has been the case. And like someone rightly pointed out, for once, thank God for once, for whatever it signifies, the legislature can take its rightful place and say, no, let's look at things as they really are.
But aren't the lawmakers also culpable if they have seen these things happen over a period of time and they decided to keep quiet about it?
In the end, how do I put it now? Let me just make a simple reference now. The presidency, for instance, or the federal government, for instance, is now saying they are finally closing in on politicians involved in the Boko Haram saga. It's not how long it takes. I'll tell you why. You know, there are times when, I'll use that just to explain this. If, for instance, when the presidency got wind of the involvement of some politicians without adequate evidence, they just went in. You can be sure this will whip up sentiments, tribal, religious, and all sorts of sentiments, and lives will be lost. Innocent lives will be lost, okay? Because then you cannot truly substantiate. Now, how does that translate in this case? Finally, the EFCC, I use the word finally, even whether they drag their feet or whatever, but finally, they have come up with, you know, allegations, you know, and, you know, they have done their investigation and they have presented it and said, these are, you know, the things for which is culpable. And that's a basis for the State Assembly to act. You understand? I mean, without any evidence, even if you're saying whatever you're saying, you still need the police or whoever is investigating to bring up, you know, to substantiate the allegation. So there is substantial evidence right now by which to undertake this.
Well, some would say that Nyako's problem started politically when it changed party from PDP to the APC. I don't want to ask you what the legal implication of that is, but morally, would you say there's anything wrong in that action?
Well, the issue of changing parties is, if we can't talk about it right now, it's sub judice because it's still a subject for litigation, a subject in the courts, you know. So, but if you ask him morally and all that, I mean, he's not the only one. Kwankwaso changed in Kano. We have so many other governors. He's not the only one. And so if we're talking about one out of so many, then we would say, why isn't it happening, for instance, to, what's his name now? The governor in Imo State, for instance. The governor in, Sokoto and some of the other states. So you want to ask yourself, why isn't it happening in some of these other states? So this is only one. I mean, it's easy for opposition to say, okay, his problem started. I tell you what, he was grabbing a scorpion by the tail when he made the allegation he made. I would, if you ask me if that contributed, I would even say, if at all the federal government had any finger in what is happening, that it was even enough, you know, making such, because what he simply says is saying to the president, you're going to go to jail for genocide. You are making an allegation. So if the president in turn decides, okay, fine, you two, you're going to go to jail for stealing the people's money, okay? You know, that to me seems more plausible than just saying that because he has changed parties. You understand what I'm saying, sir?
Well, then one would have asked that if there are allegations against you as regards corrupt practices, that what an average African would do is go clear his name in the court of law.
Are you sure the average African would do that?
Well,
the average,
you know, the typical African.
No. A reasonable person, I would say. A responsible person. I won't say the average
I'm making reference to the real virtues and values of the African community. I don't think that has eroded so far.
No. In the traditional system, where we may say court and all that, but we are not particularly we're not famous for such virtuous lines, not our politicians, to go and clear name or say, okay, I will resign and go and clear my name. You might maybe want to give me a precedence, but I don't know too many. You know, what we find is people who hang on to power and desperately, you know, a drowning man will clutch at straw. I mean, they will even clutch at air to hang in there with something to grab. So what I would rather say is that a person of honor would do that, would say, okay, fine, I want to go clear my name. But first, there has to be a name to clear.
Does it also, you know, relate to the role of the judiciary and how clear-cut the decision will be at the judiciary? Making reference to what happened with Fayose in Ekiti, some say it was illegally impeached. You saw the overwhelming support that came from the people. But nobody's actually talking about the allegations that were, you know, made against him while he was in office.
Well, the issue of allegation is a matter for the courts. I think he still has a case to answer in court. You know, so I would rather not comment on issues like that because it's in court. Until it's finished, there's not much we can say in that regard.
Not exactly about the case in court. I'm talking about why are our leaders, are we saying that even political leaders have lost that trust in our judiciary?
Well, no, I'm not sure I understand your question in the sense that going to court to clear the name and things like that. I'm not particularly sure about that because if anything, our leaders are known to use the court for their own selfish. I mean, you just heard Justice, the Chief Justice, complain recently about how compromised, you know, a lot of judges are and the amount of corruption in the judiciary. You know, so she didn't pretend about it. You know, she talked about it. So for me, if they could use it, they would, and that's what he has done by making sure that there's no chief judge in place, no substantive chief judge in place for so long. You understand what I'm saying? And even the one that is there now acting, his tenure just ended. You know, I mean, that is acting with impunity. There's things that are supposed to be in place, things that are supposed to do, but it's like you're saying, to hell with the process and how things should be done. You know, if anything, he uses things to his advantage. You know, but maybe finally a Daniel came to judgment. You know, because in this case, a judge that, if anything, he would say would favor him, has decided due process must be followed. You know, and which is why probably he's having the problem he's having. I mean, in any case, what court is he going to go to clear it? He has gone to the court, mind you, to see how he can, you know, frustrate the process and all that. So what he needs to do, he has done. The issue of clearing his name is to stand before the panel and clear his name, which he's not doing. And if he says African, then he's not being African.
8 first-class royal fathers in Adamawa State, as well as 2 former heads of state intervening in this. Would you say that is enough to save Nyako?
When you go to intervene, okay, I don't know what their arguments are for him. Whether the argument is, oh, please forgive him, or please pardon him. I think they should direct, these legislators belong to the same community where these 8 traditional rulers come from. They are their royal fathers. I think it's being misdirected. If anything, they should be talking to the legislators. They should get the people in the constituencies to be talking to the legislators. Unless the people of Adamawa agree with what is happening and they are saying one thing and their body language is different. The heads of state that went, on what basis are they going? I'm even asking, why are they going to the president? Is he the one? I mean, even Nyako, I said there's no problem with the president. Okay? So I'm wondering, what are they going to meet the president for? Is it so he can tell, he can interfere with EFCC, and then tomorrow we'll accuse him of interfering with EFCC? Or, no, you tell me, what is it supposed to what end is it supposed to, what is it supposed to achieve?
It's all right. As it is now, members of the Adamawa State House of Assembly are on a 1-month recess. And of course, many are asking, what does that has to do with what impact would that actually have on the 7-man panel sitting as it is now, you know, on the impeachment saga in Adamawa. We'll take a break now, and when we come back, we'll be talking about how all of these will impact on the security situation in Adamawa as one of the states on the state of emergency in Nigeria. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
Core TV News now provide a platform for live coverage of political rallies and electioneering campaign from anywhere in Nigeria. Political news stories, political editorial reviews, political discussions, personality profile, People's Parliament from the National, State and Local Government Assembly. Contact us now on 0803-471-8550 or 0803-724-9733. 01453-3407.
Our 24-hour news station.